All right, today we are going to crack open a word that sits right at the very heart of Buddhist philosophy. Now, it's a word you probably think you know, but what if its real meaning has nothing to do with being born and everything to do with the start of, well, pretty much everything else?
So I'm sure most of us have heard this line before, right? Jāti pi dukkha. For centuries, it's been translated as birth is suffering. And, it's a heavy line. It sounds stark, powerful, maybe even a little grim. But here's the thought. What if that one word, birth, is just wrong? What if it's been throwing us off this whole time? What if the original Pali word, jāti, isn't about that one-time biological event, but about something that happens to you and me, constantly, every single day?
Well, that's exactly what some fascinating new analysis is telling us. By throwing out the old dictionary definitions and bringing in some seriously modern tech, we can crack this ancient code and see what it really means.
And believe me, this wasn't just a casual reread. We're talking about a massive AI-powered analysis of the entire Pali Canon, looking at how jāti was used in thousands of different contexts. On top of that, they did a deep phonetic dive into the word's ancient sounds, trying to understand its core function, not just what it meant, but what it did.
So when you break it down, it's actually pretty cool. You have the sound ja, which is all about emergence, like a spark of energy bursting into existence. And then you have ti, which means something like a fixed state, a container. So you put them together, and jāti literally describes a process where potential energy emerges and then gets locked into a specific working form.
And that leads us to a completely new definition, one that has way more to do with your laptop than you might think. It reframes jāti not as birth, but as the exact moment a system goes live. So here it is. Jāti is the moment of activation. It's the loading complete screen. It's that instant when pure potential clicks over and becomes a functioning operational reality. Now, I know that sounds a little abstract, so let's make it crystal clear with some examples from right now. We're going to look at 4 modern analogies that really nail this idea of system activation. And you'll see how you actually experience jāti all the time, probably without even realizing it. First up, just think about any app on your phone. You see that little icon just sitting on your screen? That's what we could call bhava. It's pure potential, just sitting there. But the moment you tap it, the loading screen flashes, and then bam, the app is open and working. That is jāti. The system is now live, and you are officially operating within its rules. Okay, let's take that same idea and apply it to something a little more dramatic. An actor on stage.
So imagine an actor in the dressing room. They're in costume, they're in character. But it's all just potential. That's bhava. But the second they step out from the wings and that spotlight hits them in front of a live audience, that is jāti. The play is now a running system. They're locked into the script, committed to the performance. There's no going back.
All right, this next one's for all the gamers out there. Let's talk about logging into an online game.
You know when you're in the character creation menu spending hours getting the armor just right? That's all bhava. It's pure potential. But the moment you click start and your character spawns into the actual live game world, that's jāti. Instantly, the possibility of danger becomes reality. The rules of the game are now your rules.
And for our last analogy, let's take it out onto the open road with a rental car. So, you're sitting in the parking lot. The engine's running, you've got your music on. That's the state of potential, bhava. But the second you pull out, drive up the on-ramp, and merge into that fast-moving stream of cars on the highway, you have just experienced jāti. You're no longer just a person in a car. You are now part of a much bigger operational system with its own momentum and its own unforgiving rules.
Which, of course, brings us all the way back to that original haunting phrase. If jāti just means a system loading up or activating, why on earth would that be considered suffering? What's the problem with just starting something?
Well, it's because the moment any system goes live, all of its built-in flaws, bugs, and limitations go live right along with it, right? You can't run the software without also running its glitches. The execution of the program is also the execution of all its problems.
And this explains the whole life cycle perfectly. You have jāti, the moment of execution. That immediately kicks off jara, which is basically system wear, decay, or aging. And that process of wearing down, inevitably, always, leads to marana, the end of the line, the termination of the program. The second the system goes live, it's already on a one-way trip to shutting down.
So, what's the solution then? If every single program we run is destined to wear out and crash, how do you ever escape that cycle?
Well, the answer isn't what you might think. I mean, this is the ultimate question, isn't it? If the very act of starting is what begins the process of suffering and decay, how do you find peace? Do you just have to pull the plug on everything?
And the answer is actually no. The solution isn't to force quit the system that's currently running. It's to understand this whole process so deeply that you stop feeding the machine the fuel it needs for the next reboot. And that fuel, that's our craving, our attachment, the very things that make us want to start a new program in the first place.
This idea is called nirodha. It's not about destruction, it's about cessation. It's about choosing not to hit reboot. It's about letting the current program run its natural course until it terminates, without firing up the next one. And that is what leads to a truly profound, lasting state of system peace.